Hello my viewers, and welcome to a thought-provoking video where we confront uncomfortable truths about the history of oppression and systemic racism faced by Black people in America. Now, in this powerful narrative, palm-color individuals bravely acknowledge the injustices perpetuated by their own community throughout history. The opening scene features a candid conversation with a palm-color woman who courageously confronts the roots of African oppression, attributing it to the fear of Black excellence and innovation rather than any inherent inferiority. Now, as the video unfolds, a palm-color man takes us into the dark legacy of slavery in America, highlighting how Black individuals were systematically dehumanized and exploited for labor. He candidly admits that the intention was never to grant them freedom or equality, but rather to maintain a system of oppression. The narrative traces the arc of Black resilience and resistance, from the horrors of Lavng to the modern-day injustices perpetuated through the welfare and criminal justice systems. Crucially, these voices emphasize the necessity for palm-color acknowledgement and accountability. They assert that true progress cannot be achieved until palm-color individuals reckon with the historical injustices embedded within the very fabric of American society. The failure to live up to the principles of equality enshrined in the Constitution serves as a poignant reminder of the enduring legacy of systemic racism. Check out these videos. I will be right back.
Reasons why Africans are repressed, but let me tell you the reason why is when I say that you are the most powerful beings, you are the most powerful beings. You have to understand that you were like the first people to bring in advanced technology. You were the owners and creators of Atlantis. Okay, you people helped create advanced technology that these supposedly reptilians invented. They didn't invent shit. Okay, and the Arcturians, they didn't invent it either. All of you fucking melanated gods, you invented that shit. Okay, and you see what happened is that Egypt, so in ancient Egypt, Africa, this in Atlantis. You guys were the owners of that, okay? You did not live with, yeah, that's beautiful too, later on in other parts of Africa where you guys have your ancient stuff, but I'm talking advanced technology that you had here, okay? And you have to understand that the reason why you are so repressed is because aliens were interested in how advanced you were. They wanted you up because you were so powerful, and they took you off your throne.
My people,
let's look at America.
It's happening right now.
We brought blacks into this country as slaves. We never intended them to be anything other than a slave. But they began to grow in number and in power, and eventually they fought their way to some freedom. So we became even more cruel. And to keep our Black Americans down, we lynched. But yet they rose. So then we used the welfare system, the criminal justice system, to keep them down, to contain them, to destroy them. But yet they rose, and they're rising. Then we built prisons and jails to hold them. Yet they rose. And so now we are doing exactly what the Pharaoh did at the end, sending out a decree. So until we admit that when we wrote this Constitution that all men are created equal, that we never intended to include our Black brothers and sisters, our nation may end up facing exactly what the Egyptians faced when they refused to let God's people go. So I'm going to say this to my white fellow Americans, that the bloodshed that is on its way is not on the hands of our fellow Black Americans, but is on our hands. We are the ones that are refusing to let God's people go. We are the ones that are refusing to acknowledge that we do not value our black brothers and sisters as equal individuals or equal Americans as us white men. And to my black brothers and sisters, the racial issues, as I've said, have been there from the very foundation. But why do we see it more? Because there's a shifting. See, us white men have been at the head since the foundation. But we've had a black president. And you know, we've done everything in our power to keep him from really changing things. Now we have another minority rising to the top, a white female. What does that say? Those of us who are white men who have been at the head are now starting to see and fear that we are going to become the tail. And we know what we've done to you. And so now we're fearful that you're going to do to us what we have done to you.
Dr. Hacker, it doesn't appear as though you really paint a very pretty picture of white people in general insofar as you see white-black race relations. Can you expound on that, sir?
Well, interestingly, you use the phrase race relations. I don't think there are many relations between black and white people. What I would say very simply is that those of us who are born with this pigmentation have certain privileges, things we can take for granted, you know. We have the safety, the security, so we don't want to lose this. Now, this also means that, and here's the unpleasant part, that so much of our safety, security status comes from putting down people, saying, we're not like them. We're Europeans. We're more highly evolved. You know, we've got talents they don't have. And that's where you get, you know, the flip side of this, which really is the ugly side of the system.
Mm-hmm. Well, how much does sexuality really have to do with race relations, particularly between white men and black men?
Well, if you take white men and black men, let's take it two ways.
Okay.
If a man is walking down the street and he sees a couple, a very attractive man, really masculine, and with him a very attractive woman, you know, we'll make her blonde, you know. He looks at that woman and he wonders, this is the man, what does she see in him? What do they do together? And it really drives us up the wall, because she's a woman who could choose, you know, a guy, but she chooses that guy. And that really bothers us. And as a result, what we want to do is some way take that man away, you know, because we begin to say, hey, is she having a better time with him, you know, in various ways than she can with me. And so he's competition for us. And you know how people react to competition.
Now, the raw honesty and acknowledgement of historical injustices by palm color individuals are both validating and deeply moving. It's a rare and powerful moment to see members of the palm color community confront the uncomfortable truths of systemic racism and oppression that have plagued black people throughout history. The opening remarks by the palm color woman attributing African oppression to fear of black excellence and innovation resonate deeply. It's a sentiment often overlooked in mainstream discourse, yet it speaks volumes about the deep-rooted fear and insecurity that underpinned the subjugation of black people. The subsequent commentary from the palm color man about the origins of slavery in America and the deliberate efforts to deny black people freedom and equality hits close to home. It's a painful reminder of the centuries-long struggle for liberation and justice that black people have endured, from the horrors of slavery to the ongoing systemic injustices embedded in our society. His acknowledgement of the resilience and resistance of black people throughout history is both empowering and bittersweet. Despite facing unimaginable brutality and oppression, black individuals have continually risen and fought for their rights, challenging the status quo and demanding justice. However, his sobering reminder that true progress cannot be achieved until palm color individuals acknowledge and confront their complicity in perpetuating systemic racism is a crucial call to action. The failure to live up to the ideals of equality enshrined in the Constitution serves as a stark reminder of the unfinished work of the civil rights movement. This video serves as a rallying cry for continued activism and advocacy in the fight against racism and injustice. It's a testament to the power of solidarity and allyship in dismantling oppressive systems and building a more equitable and just society for all. The historical oppression of Black people in America cannot be divorced from the broader context of colonialism, imperialism, and global systems of exploitation. And understanding these interconnected systems of oppression provides a more comprehensive understanding of the struggles faced by marginalized communities. The rich history of Black resistance and resilience is essential. From the abolitionist movement to the civil rights era and beyond, Black individuals and communities have organized, protested, and fought for justice and equality. Examining the enduring legacy of systemic racism on contemporary society is also crucial. While progress has been made in some areas, disparities in wealth, education, healthcare, and criminal justice persist, disproportionately affecting Black communities. Now, this systemic inequality perpetuates cycles of poverty and marginalization, further exacerbating social and economic disparities. Now, the facts made by this palm-color woman regarding the fear of Black excellence and innovation contributing to African oppression can be contextualized by historical evidence. For example, during the transatlantic slave trade, African kingdoms and societies were often targeted by European colonizers for their wealth, resources, and advanced civilizations. European powers exploited and subjugated these societies through colonization and slavery, driven by a desire for economic gain and dominance. The fear of Black excellence and innovation threatened the colonial narrative of European superiority and justified the exploitation and oppression of African people. The assertion by the palm-color man about Black people being brought to America as slaves and never intended to be anything other than slaves is supported by historical records. The transatlantic slave trade forcibly brought millions of Africans to the Americas, where they were subjugated to chattel slavery, treated as property rather than human beings. The institution of slavery was deeply entrenched in American society, with laws and systems designed to maintain racial hierarchy and exploit Black labor for economic gain. The abolitionist movement and eventual civil war led to the formal end of slavery, but systemic racism and discrimination persisted long after emancipation. The narrative of palm-color cruelty escalating in response to Black empowerment and resistance is evident throughout history. As Black communities grew in number and asserted their rights, palm-color supremacist ideologies fueled violent backlash and discriminatory policies. Now, the era of Reconstruction saw gains in Black political representation and civil rights, only to be met with the rise of Jim Crow laws and racial segregation. Lavngs and other acts of racial violence were used as tools of terror to maintain WS and subjugate Black Americans. The palm-color man's commentary on modern-day oppression, including the use of welfare and the criminal justice system to perpetuate inequality, aligns with empirical evidence. Studies have shown disparities in access to resources and opportunities for Black Americans, resulting in higher rates of poverty, unemployment, and unalivings. The war on drugs and mandatory minimum sentencing laws have disproportionately affected Black communities, perpetuating cycles of poverty and disenfranchisement. The assertion that the founders of the United States never intended to include Black people when writing the Constitution is supported by historical context too. The original Constitution and subsequent amendments were drafted by predominantly palm-color male lawmakers who upheld systems of slavery and racial hierarchy. The infamous 3/5 compromise, which counted enslaved individuals as 3/5 of a person for the purposes of representation, exemplifies the exclusion of Black people from full citizenship rights. We have finally come to the end of the video. What do you have to say? Share your thoughts in the comment section. Thank you for watching and see you in my next video.